Well, let's think of it as a State of the Union.
Okay. My fellow...
I don't know how State of the yeah.
my Dello Feligates. We so we usually we usually save this for post
During the
chat.
outro.
Yeah, to pitch our sorta side stuff, but I guess we're trying it out for opening. Forgive us.
Yeah.
But we're trying for more
Engagement
extra stuff.
Yeah. Some non-podcast exclusive material
for YouTube.
Yeah, we're trying to be YouTubers now.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention it because they aren't edited yet. But when this episode comes out, it'll be the day after Halloween. My goal is to have them both out by Halloween. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because we got a busy weekend.
You have 3 videos that you have to like basically listen to in their entirety to add clips into.
Yeah. I don't know how heavy I'm going to be doing the clip stuff. Maybe I'll just leave it more to us. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, if I'm going to cut them just like these episodes, but so just check out the YouTube. We're going to try to have, we already shot we together shot a Saw series review thing.
All 10 movies.
And then I did one for the Texas Chainsaw series as well. That's a little less. It's kind of just me here in front of like this.
Yeah.
It's a.
We didn't do it on location.
Yeah. So yeah,
is that the main? Those are the main 3.
Yeah, really, and it'd be a lot easier if I didn't have a fucking show episode to edit every week too. That's like it's like every week I'm like I always have all these other projects to get to, and it's like okay, but I gotta get through the Duds one. So like if it takes me a little longer to get to the Duds episode, it's like okay, well that's all I worked on this week. But so is the nature of doing a weekly show, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you're listening to this, they'll hopefully be out, if not this week, if not within a few days from this.
Yeah.
It's
tough. It's tough trying to kind of juggle both things, do like the podcast, but also like try to engage more on YouTube with like more YouTube exclusive stuff, because I don't understand. I don't understand what makes stuff pop on YouTube versus what doesn't. Like I feel like even the people that know now, like that are YouTubers now, still struggle with that. Like, is it hitting the right amount of time on a YouTube video? Is it having an engaging thumbnail where we're going like this and like making Mr. Beast face? Is it that? Is it clickbaity titles? Is it hashtags? Is it all of those things? I don't know. That's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah, I'm always interested in like channels that I mean, I guess any big channel had a video that, blew up or whatever or something, but like I just started watching a new to me channel's videos and like they reference like, oh, I did this video a couple years ago and it got really big, and like you go back and you see like that, and it's like you kind of see why, like every time you see like, oh yeah, I see why that one blew up, because it's kind of an interesting video or like an interesting kind of angle. And I'm not saying that that's what just our, we're just doing serious reviews. Go watch them, but I'm not saying they're going to be groundbreaking.
We don't have like a full-on production team.
Yeah.
Our origin story is going to be like, they did one Son of the Mask review.
Yeah.
And the rest was history.
Or Finding Neverland.
That's up to 42K for some reason.
Insane. But But yeah, it seems like they're all just like kind of random things, and then just one idea sticks and hits with people, and it's like, oh yeah, that that is an interesting idea or something like that. And
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to like, it's hindsight's 2020 sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's not these videos, but you should still watch them, I guess. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of There Will Be Duds. This is episode 122, and I am one of two co-hosts, TJ, and with me as always,
I am the two of two co-host, Nick, and horror season is done, so everyone has left us again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris was on for 3 of them, though, which is pretty cool. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. No one owes us anything, but please, we need more friends.
Come on.
Then what did we do? As always, we watched a movie, and that movie is M from 1931, directed by Fritz Lang. It is about a city wrapped up in a frenzy surrounding a serial child murderer who everyone's desperately trying to figure out who it is, and there's multiple different groups all kind of trying to almost working against each other, because there's like a big what do you say, like wanted, like a reward out for the guy's head.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the mobsters form their own group, there's the police, there's like the homeless community kind of working with the mobster sorta, and then they get him, and then stuff. Yeah, it's a movie. There's an ending and stuff.
Things happen.
So yeah, I didn't go back and check, but I do think this has got to be the oldest thing we've reviewed. I think we've done some.
I think so.
I think we did something in the 30s. I know
Philadelphia Story.
That was like 1940 or 41. I mean, it was close, but
I feel like we did something in like 39.
I thought or like 36 or something.
When's Wizard of Oz?
That's 39. We didn't do that though.
Okay. We didn't do Wizard of Oz? No, we did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know why I thought we did Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I guess I lumped those two movies together in my head.
I guess I can see kind of Technicolor fantasy.
Yeah.
Fakey world.
Right. Have you seen this before?
I had not, but it's been on my watch list for.
Yeah, this is like one. I mean, this was like a. Yeah, this was like a Criterion blind buy for me, where I was like, I've heard of Fritz Lang.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of I knew about Metropolis,
mm-hmm.
which is like I think his other like sort of like most famous work.
Right.
So when you pulled it, I was kind of excited because I'd always heard about this. I don't think I've ever seen like a Peter Lorre movie. Like I've always known who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I mean maybe I have seen a movie of his, but I wasn't like.
I'm really trying to think. I'm like, I almost thought we like did a. No, I'm just thinking. We didn't do it for the show, but I did like a couple months ago. I did watch an old Peter Lorre movie called.
Oh, okay.
The Man Who Knew Too Much. It's like a few years after this.
Yeah, was that Hitchcock?
Yeah, it's a Hitchcock movie. I think it was his first, Laurie's first like English role too.
Okay.
English movie.
Yes. So I was kind of excited going into it. I'd heard a lot about it,
mm-hmm.
and I'm putting my cards on the table here. I really liked this movie.
I did too.
I liked it a lot. I thought I was constantly having to remind myself that this was a movie from 1931, almost 100 years ago.
Years ago.
And maybe it's because I was watching like the Criterion copy of it, but this movie, at least the transfer that they released, looks so good. Like everything, like even just everything about it. Like there was some really, really cool cinematography. Like the opening sequence I really liked, with like the kids kind of standing in the circle. You start out like above them, almost just like watching them from a distance, which kind of plays into the themes of the movie. I really had a good time with it. A lot of ideas put forth that Fritz Lang had about there's like some social commentary here, I would say, especially given the time period. Like I was kind of reading some of the supplemental stuff, and like this is like 2 years prior to like Nazi Germany.
That was partly why Laurie transitioned to English film, is because he had to flee from Germany when the Nazis came over.
Yep.
Or
I think even Fritz Lang fled too.
Oh.
And there was a fun little anecdote. Apparently, Joseph Goebbels loved this movie because he thought it was a great representation of capital punishment.
Well, he was the Nazis' party like minister of media or whatever. So you can be a Nazi,
and then they banned it in 1934 anyway.
Yeah, you can be a Nazi and have good taste in film. I don't know why I'm trying to side with Goebbels.
No.
But
he's got a good point, I guess, if you gotta hand it to him.
Hey, sure, he was one of like the premier leaders of the Nazi party, but we can agree on some things.
And then the other like totally astounding fact to me was that this is Fritz Lang's first picture with sound.
Yeah.
And I think there have been a few. Yes, there have been like a few movies that have come out that kind of like show that struggle that seemed to happen with directors and moving to sound pictures versus like just purely silent movies. Like I'm thinking like Babylon, that was like a big thing in that movie, and then even Sunset Boulevard that we did.
That's
ago.
Like the whole kind of subject of that. Yeah.
And it's insane how well Fritz Lang nailed it, and also like totally understood like how to use sound and when not to use sound effectively.
Yeah.
I was super impressed with that, like learning that was his first sound movie, and it was just like, oh cool, your first try, you made like a masterpiece.
I totally agree that like I was really like, the movie itself was good, but also just like it's such an interesting time capsule of this transition to talkies, where like you're saying, like a lot of directors didn't really know what to do, and I noticed there seemed to be some kind of holdovers from silent films, like some things that, like there is a scene where it's like where the police are raiding that bar, that like all those cool like underground German bars.
Right.
And there's like the police like goes into like the women's bathroom because there's that one guy like hiding out, and like there's no audio, you don't hear them talking or anything, but you see the police, like he's like hands on his hips, and then the guy like he like opens the curtain and the guy's standing there sheepishly, and then he does like a big pronounced like point, like get out of here, and it's very like that's how you would see people act in silent films, because they have to
you have to convey that.
And then also again there are extended periods of complete silence in this movie, and my thought was, is that because how silent movies were done at the time in the theaters is they just had live bands at the theaters play the music. There wasn't actually audio on this picture because they couldn't play sound. So I was like, is that because they had a live band playing, but this was like a sound picture too, so now the transfer doesn't have that? But apparently that was intentional. Like that's how Lang wanted it. That was, I just think that's really interesting too.
That was another thing that I read in the supplemental on the Criterion, is that I think Fritz Lang said that it was supposed to be the sort of like if you know, when you're walking down the street and you're not really focused on anything, you can like hear the ambient sounds of everything. But as soon as you're like focused on something, everything else kind of washes away and you're hyper focused on that one thing. And I think he said that was sort of the idea that he was going for, because you'll have these long extended periods of silence and then something loud will like snap you out of it. Like a police siren,
the
or
whistling or whatever. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because like I was watching this movie in the living room and Chloe was in our bedroom like reading, and after a while she was like, "Did you pause the movie?" I was like, "Nope," because up until then it has just been like harsh German like people yelling at each other, and then it'll be like 2 minutes of silence. It's like, nope, didn't pause it. This is just how it is.
I did like that. Speaking of the Nazis again, there was a thing like where you see guys shouting and they're doing this thing. And I was like, oh, I thought that was just a Hitler thing. I guess they're like kind of wagging your finger to the side like that. Yeah. Like, oh, okay.
No, it's just Germans. It's a very abrasive language.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, I forgot where I was going. Wonder how many times you could. I like. Somebody should do a supercut of the times where we lose our train of thought.
Yeah, at least you lose your train of thought before you say something, as opposed to like losing it in the middle of saying something, which happens to me quite frequently.
Yeah.
The two movies that we did on the show that seemed to be possibly influenced by this, I don't know if they actually were, but they're both actually Orson Welles movies. I was very much no. One of them was
one of them is not
Night
Orson
of the Hunter.
Welles. Oh wait,
yeah.
Okay, wait. Which ones are you saying? Night of the Hunter.
I was gonna say, and The Third Man. This reminded me a lot of.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's not an Orson
with like
Welles
the
movie.
Cinematography.
Remember?
It's yeah, you're right. It's not.
It's a Carol Reed.
That's right.
I thought you were gonna say The Third Man and Touch of Evil.
A
little, just
maybe.
like the noir. I know. After I was like, there was a thing that I want to get to later, and I was trying. I was like, I feel like this is like they do this a really similar thing to this in some other movie that we did. And then I was like going back through our episodes, and I was like, man, we've done like a handful of movies about child murderers. Like we just did the Sympathy for Mr. I mean, that's not like about a child murderer, but there is a kid that
a lot of
gets
kid
killed
death
in it. And then Night of the
even
Hunter.
The Happening.
Yeah, sure, The Happening.
A couple of Spencer Breslin gets his brain blasted.
Right.
But similarly to like Night of the Hunter, because he has his like, you know, children. He has that song that he sings, and that's sort of like how you know he's near.
Oh, sure, yeah. And
then this one, you get introduced, and that's like such a cool thing.
Damn it.
What?
Damn it. I didn't have any time. I didn't think about it until just now. I was planning on practicing on my recorder this song. I wanted to intro the episode with it, but somebody called into work, so I had to go into work today, so I didn't have any time. Damn it.
You wanted to learn in the Hall of the Mountain King.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so yeah, you don't see Peter Lorre until maybe 20, 30-ish minutes into the movie.
I love how they like preview him. It's so cool.
You hear him whistling first.
Uh-huh.
Like you hear him whistling in the Hall of the Mountain King, which is like, yeah, it's one of the, like when you think of classical music, of like things that like everybody recognizes, that's like one of the top 5 like, you know, classical pieces of music that everyone knows.
I'm gonna insert that, but I'm gonna overlay Luigi's Mansion whistling.
And I love the sort of like, you know, pseudo introduction we get where I think the camera's following the first victim, the first little girl. She's
Elsie.
walking down the she's walking down the sidewalk, and then the camera kind of
So
like
good. It's so
moves
good.
up to like a sign that basically explains like reward, there's a serial killer, there's like a murderer, like children have been going missing, parents, like look after your kids, whatever. And then you see like the and it does that thing, and it made me think of like all the other movies we've watched where like the sort of like there's like a sign in the world that asks a question and like is answered. It says, "Who is the murderer?" And then you see his shadow show up, and I was like, "There he is."
That's exactly what I think. I think it was, "Where is the murderer?" And
Where
then
is
it's
the
like,
yeah?
And then, boop,
It's
here
so
he is.
perfect.
Yeah, I make a note of that ever since you like mentioned it a few times. So I put down ultimate signage use in this movie.
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah.
Du hast aber einen schönen Ball. Wie heißt du denn?
And then it is one of the most like chilling sort of like montage of shots that I've ever seen in a movie, where you see him like, he's like, "Oh, what's your name?" She's like, "Oh, Elise." And then it cuts to like her empty dinner plate at the table. It cuts to the ball rolling out of the woods, and then it cuts to the little toy balloon stuck in the electrical wires, and then cut. That's it. So it's just like immediately you know she's gone. Like it's haunting the way that like, and it's silent too.
Yeah.
So affecting.
Yeah. And then what I meant by like the kind of the introductions, yes, the whistling, but I was talking about like you do get some glimpses at him before he's kind of properly introduced. And it's so interesting how it's used, because you'll get that, the opening scene, and then, okay, we're with all these different people as they're, kind of responding to, another murder. We get the police, we get the safe cracker guy, we get all these different characters that we're introduced to. And then just like in the middle of one of them talking, they're just like, oh, what is the mind of a person that would do this? They're probably like this. They have a mad look in their eyes. And then we get a cut to Peter Lorre looking at himself in the mirror, and he's like stretching his face out like this. And it's so cool. And then it cuts away, and that's the only glimpse you get of him for another, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, you don't see him again. Like that's and again, I think in one of there's like an interview with Fritz Lang in the book, and he's talking about like, he's like, I think I'm the first person to like have overlapping audio with like different video, or
like narration type speaking. Yeah.
And like during that sequence, he talks about like how the police talking about their strategy and the mobsters talking about their strategy, they finish each other's sentences.
Yeah.
Which was like, again, who really knows? But Fritz Lang is like, I think I'm the first person to do that.
I think
like,
I'm
use that sort of like narration style. Because usually when I hear that stuff, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, oh, we recorded the very first. Anyone who claims to do the first of anything, I'm like, I don't know about that. But I could believe it with this.
Yeah, sure. It's old enough, and like, yeah. Yeah, and that's just like another example of like for it being such a new thing, a very cool, interesting way to use it is just, or like a more like artistic way to use it than you would expect someone to use it when it's such a fresh thing. Is like that cutaway to him looking at himself. There's a lot of cool sort of framing. I don't know how to put it, but there's another cool shot of him standing like looking in the window of that shot, and he's like framed by like the like square
is that when he's like
display.
looking at he's like looking at a little girl through the thing,
through the mirror, and he like his eyes like roll back in his head, and he's like
It's so gross.
Yeah. And then
And like, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like that. Like you see him do that. Like make that face. He does an ahegao face. and then he does it again in the final scene where
he does.
He's like saying he's trying to plead his case, and he's like, I can't help it, the the urge and the need, the torment to do it. And then he's like, but when I do it, and he kind of like pauses, and he does that, he makes that face again, and it's so disturbing. It's so disturbing.
Immer! Nur nichts tue, wenn ich...
Yeah, and I think what makes his character so interesting is that you all throughout the the first half of the movie or so, I think you're supposed to think that it's like he's this very calm, cool, and collected serial killer. Mm-hmm. Like the way that he does his first kill, it's like very smooth. Mm-hmm. Like he approaches a kid and is just like, "Hey, what's your name?" And then you kind of see everything. And then the more time you spend with him, you realize what a pathetic little wormy wimp he is. And maybe it's because he has the face that he does, but like when he's hiding in the office buildings and he's like behind all the shit in the attic, and his eyes are just huge and like wild and wide. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, you're just a little cretin.
Yeah.
Like no one should be scared of you. You're just a gross little guy.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all the people looking for him are so... I mean, I guess naturally as you would be. But they're so, like, kind of cautious about, like, trying to confront him, because I guess you think of, like, a slasher movie or whatever. You're going to, like, find the killer, right, and he's going to pop out of the corner and, stab you to death or whatever. But it's like he poses no threat to anybody that's not a child, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's a very unique, interesting structure, or like the cast. Like there's hardly like a main character or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so interesting how it's just most of this movie you're just jumping around to almost like vignettes of a city. Mm-hmm. Like trying, you get the police, you get these people in the bar, you get the safe cracker. Like he's the only guy whose name I really know, other than
right.
Actually, I can't think of his name right now. I should know it. But
the police guy, like Lawton.
No, Peter Lorre's character, Hans Becker. That's his name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the police is like Inspector Carl. Is he like the Tubby Loman or whatever? Yeah.
Tubby Loman.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some like characters, but it's not really like
there's not really like a protagonist that you're like following his personal journey.
It's you go through so much of this and you're like, okay, there's these guys, but now we're hanging out with these people in a bar and we're going to take like 5 minutes of just this line of people getting their IDs checked, and you're never going to see these people again, but it's entertaining. Like everybody's different. They have their own kind of reaction.
I ain't got no papers.
Yeah. There's the one guy who's just like, I don't have them. They're like, okay, off with the precinct to you. And he's like, yeah, okay. Just my luck.
Ain't that just the way?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And it just keeps doing that throughout the movie. Uh-huh. And then kind of Peter Lorre becomes the main character, but you hardly see him until you're like an hour into the movie.
Right. Yeah, and he doesn't really talk all that much until his big sort of like monologue near the end.
Hardly.
Most of the time you do spend with him, he's like running away and hiding and like trying to escape.
That might honestly be the first time you see him speak. Like the only other times you hear him is like when his shadow or something. Like,
right.
One of those kind of like striking, like when he breaks into that his big monologue or like multi-stage monologue thing at the end.
Yeah. One of the vignettes kind of reminded me of The Hunt. Like this, because like that movie deals with like basically an entire town, like
kid stuff.
I mean, they're yeah. I guess it's like they know who like Mads Mikkelsen's character is, so the town kind of turns on him, but it sort of captures that hysteria. Like there's the scenes in the street where it's like a girl walks up to a guy and asks him what time it is, and he tells her the time, and then he's like, "Oh, shouldn't you be going? Where do you live?" And then he's immediately swallowed by a crowd, and they're like, "Why do you need to know where she lives? Who's that girl? Why are you like the town is in like hysterics over this." And I think there's even like a scene where like the police is like, "Why do we even involve the public? Because 90% of what we get are all like either you're bogus, fake, or like people, just accusing anyone of anything."
You get that montage in like any sort of investigation movie. You get like a montage of the detective sitting at a table with like a line of people being like, "Oh, I think it's this guy. I think it's this guy."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because he looked at me funny one day. It's my cousin or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I really liked the network of beggars. I thought, like you said, there's not really like a main character, but all of the characters you do meet, they are all pretty interesting and fun. And again, this is like coming from the supplemental book, but it's like, ironically enough, a blind guy is the one who finds out who the killer is.
Okay. This is the thing that I wanted to ask. The dude, there's like the beggar, the blind guy at the beginning. He's the one that he buys the balloon for Elsie for at the beginning, and he's whistling the song. And then later he walks by and he's whistling the song again, and the blind guy keys to it.
He's like,
I feel like we watched something where it wasn't a blind guy, but it was like there was like a dude who was like selling balloons maybe, and he was just kind of like in the background. I thought it was like the third man, or maybe like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like another child criminal movie, High and Low. I was like, is it that one, or am I just thinking of the other ones where like children are put into danger? It
might have been High and Low. I mean, in the third man, like he's in that Ferris wheel.
Yeah, it's not there.
And it's like kind of like a park.
No, I'm really thinking there's like a part where there's just kind of an innocuous character in the back. Maybe it's Bicycle Thieves. God, I bet it is. I'm racking my brain trying to think of this, where it's just like a character who's kind of like in the background earlier on, and then late in the movie they kind of play a part, and it's like, oh, if you were paying attention, they were in the background earlier.
You know what? That sounds familiar. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Bicycle Thieves.
Okay, I'm gonna check, because it's killing me. But we can keep
this is sort of like the other thing that reminded me of the third man was the reveal of the M on his shoulder is like one of the coolest. I mean, it's very simple, cool. But it sort of reminded me of the the push in on Orson Welles standing in the dark corridor.
Yeah.
When the guy is like, okay, that's the guy, that's the murderer, and so because like the whole time I just thought murderer. That's that's why this movie's called that. I did not realize he like writes M on his hand out of chalk, and then does the old like, oh whoops, sorry man, what do you do? Like hits him on the shoulder nonchalantly, like he's like peeling like an orange and throws the rind on the ground, and the guy's like,
pick up
man, yeah, someone's gonna slip over here.
Yeah.
And he basically brands him with this M.
Yeah.
And then he's like walking with his victim to like the candy shop or something like that. And he's being followed by like this assortment of like beggars and like homeless people that are kind of keeping tabs on him. And he kind of walks into like a little like doorway of an establishment, and the little girl's like, "Hey, mister, did you know you have something on your shoulder?" And he's like, "What?" And then, I mean, it's literally, it is the cover of the Criterion, but he looks in the mirror over his shoulder and he sees the M, and like he realizes everything all at once. Like, oh shit, like they know I'm caught. This is bad.
Yeah.
Onkel,
Was denn?
du hast dich ja ganz weiß gemacht.
Wo denn?
Da auf der Schulter. Komm, ich werf dir's weg.
There's even a scene where like he's getting cornered by all of the different beggars, and there's a kind of like a crane shot up in the air, and it looks very like Third Man. Like it's like this empty, deserted street, and you just see the three guys like kind of like looking at each other, and I feel like their shadows are like really long and tall.
Yeah. The scene, the branding scene. Well, I like that. Like that's one of the poster for it, like the old original poster, just like the hand with the M on it. And I just was wondering if that would ever, was that just like an interesting poster? I was like, oh cool, it's actually like in the movie. All right, neat.
Yeah.
And I'd seen that shot, like the over the shoulder, and I was, piecing it together, like, oh, okay, that's how we get to that point. Interesting. But I thought that moment with the little girl was actually like a surprisingly like really effective moment for me, that when like just kind of portraying like the innocence of children, and kind of like maybe go, oh shit, like where like this guy is trying to lure this girl away so that he can murder her, and he's been branded, and what the girl does, because she's just an innocent little kid, she offers to wipe it off for him. She offers to clean off the brand, which would, in theory, basically clean him of this mark that would give him, more cost or like leeway to murder her, continue his plan.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And even before that, he's peeling the orange. There's this very ominous moment where he pulls out his switchblade, and you're like, oh shit. And then he starts peeling the orange. The guy who like walks by that brands him, like kind of, jostles him, and he drops the knife, and the little girl picks up the knife and like, hands it back to like the person who would like do her harm with it.
Yeah. So I really like those little moments that they're like heavy, really really quick things that kind of pack a lot of punch.
In my notes, I wrote M for money shot because that's I was like, that's just so cool.
Yeah. There's also a lot of neat transitions where it like it's this is like if Christopher Nolan made a movie in the 30s, to where something that like I think helps Christopher Nolan's movies, like they feel like they kind of move at a fast pace, because it always feels like the scenes just kind of roll into the next, because he always has like the music playing that just kind of carries you into the next scene. There's a lot of like you already said that like it'll cut between the police and the mobsters, and they're kind of like completing each other's sentences. He does that kind of thing a lot. And the like scene transitions, like there's this scene, it might be the first, I think it's the one where the mobsters are kind of like really kind of forming their idea to be like, okay, we're gonna get a network of the beggars to work for us, and and there's just, everyone is fucking smoking like 5 stogies, smoking so much, and when the scene started, I was like, man, everybody smoked back then, huh? But like as it goes on, I'm like, Jesus, there's so much fucking smoke in this room. This is ridiculous. How could you see like without your eyes burning here? And it just keeps going. I'm like, there is so much smoke. And then when we get the transition to the next scene, it's like a platter of used cigarettes, and it's the beggars now like taking those used cigarettes and like relighting them. I'm like, okay, I was so happy that was like, that was intentional. The whole like the overuse of the smoke. I'm like, awesome. That's so cool. And then that was probably my favorite one. But another one I noted that I thought was really cool was there's like people talking. They're like at a restaurant, at a deli, and it's there's a shot of the menu board with like all the different sandwiches, and then the guy's like changing the price, and then the camera like tracks up the wall, and then there's like a window into an office, and the camera moves in, and we're in a different location.
Yes,
that was
I
so
noted
neat.
that.
That was so
They
neat.
did that's another
third man
sort of like
kind of thing.
Yeah. Where like I was like, oh shit, he's gonna go through the window, and then we're gonna be inside the office.
Yeah.
I think I noticed that because it's a little. They did. I mean, it's 1931. They did it because like I noticed that there's like they basically moved it up to that wall, and then you could see where it stopped, and then you can see where it started again. And it's like they tried to match the color of the wall of the different location, and then moved up. So it's like it's noticeable, but I was like, oh shit, I see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like they're going from one location to another.
Yeah. Something I kind of noted that I thought was maybe, I don't know if I want to say it's like a bad thing because of like because it's an old movie and not as not as many different avenues of ways of telling a story had been explored at this point. I don't know if that's like how to put it. But they capture Hans at that warehouse thing or whatever, and then the one dude who like crawled down to the hole, Franz, gets arrested, and then we have like feels like a 10-minute scene of him just being interrogated by the like lead inspector guy. Yeah. And it's all leading to him just saying, yeah, okay, I know where they took him. This is where they took him. And then we get the scene, the big kangaroo court scene.
Yes.
I feel like if you did that in a movie now, it would be, you would cut back and forth between these scenes. You would get, or Franz would be in the thing, and then their conversation would progress a little bit, and then we'd cut to the the other scene, and then
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And yeah, I like it. I don't know. It's like watching the scene with Franz. It was getting almost like a little too long in the tooth, where like I was still enjoying it because again, like the way the characters are written and performed in this, it's still very entertaining. But that was the one part where I was thinking like, if you could make this movie a little shorter, trim this down, or maybe this is just my ADD brain or something, I don't know, but I feel like intercut it with the other scene to kind of make the pacing feel a little bit more, or not to feel as kind of stretched out. And then you could that scene ends with him giving up their location, and then you cut back to the court scene for that final thing until the police show up and everybody holds their hands up and stuff. It's not like,
I definitely
not
see what you're
bad.
saying. Yeah.
I don't dislike the scene with Franz. It's just that was the one part in the movie where I was like, okay, like I don't know.
It kind of diminishes the momentum a little bit.
Yeah, it really is.
You're
just
like he's finally captured and like going to be confronted with all of this.
That might have been part of it. Is like I really wanted to see that part. And it was just kind of like holding it off, but it was an interesting thing. I'm like, you would never see any other movie do this, where we're just gonna get a 10-minute scene of this random dude getting interrogated like this. Yeah. So like casually.
Who up until this point was like a side character.
Yeah.
Not even that.
Yeah.
What's weird though is that they did do some reshoots for the French version of this movie
and the English.
There's so there's like a little mini documentary on the Criterion that actually shows kind of side by side, like how like the different French versions versus like
cool.
the German version.
That's cool.
Like they reshot it with different actors that spoke French. Some of it, like that initial phone call with like the police chief, it's like a different guy.
Oh, okay.
And then Peter Lorre is like, he can speak multiple languages.
Yeah.
So like he reshot some of those scenes, like his monologue, he shot it in French.
He,
Like just,
I think he did it
he?
in English too.
yeah, the English cut is on here as well. I haven't watched it, but
I'd be interested
It doesn't-
just to see.
Yeah.
You know.
it doesn't look as crisp as
Yeah.
the German cut, but it is in there. And yeah, kind of like what we were talking about, I think with The Third Man as well, this is like a movie that at some point in time the copyright was not renewed, so it fell into the public
I
domain.
saw that. Yeah.
So there are apparently just like a lot of second, third, fourth like generation copies of it out there that just probably look and sound like dog shit. And then there's another like IMDb fun fact. It got banned by the Nazi Party, and then it sat in a vault until like 1966. And when it was released 30 years later, it's like it underwent a restoration that included the addition of music and sound effects that wouldn't have been authorized by Fritz Lang, who deliberately kept certain passages quiet. So there are versions out there that have like I'm thinking of like I Think You Should Leave. Is that with Fred Willard where he's like the organist?
Yeah.
There's just shots of them like walking down the street, like the police, and they're just you know.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could put The Third Man like SpongeBob music in there.
Yeah. I guess I did run through the IMDb trivia. The only thing there was some interesting stuff, but the main one that I noted is that like the original title was Murderer Among Us, and I really liked that. Among Us could have been the title of this movie.
Yeah, every time a character says that phrase Among Us, I'm like, Among Us.
Yeah. And I guess it's that Peter Lorre like learned English like partly for this to do the English performance of this. Yeah. And then he went on to do an Alfred Hitchcock movie, which is cool. He's also the villain in that, but he's like total different. He's totally like, I don't know. If you look at like the poster for The Man Who Knew Too Much, you get like a perfect idea of it. He's got like the cigarette in his mouth, and he's like a total like slime ball, like gangster dude. He's fun though. He's good in it.
I was sort of very shocked by how abrupt the ending was.
Yeah. Yeah, that was strange. That also is very silent film. Silent films would have, the grand climax scene, or whatever, which you could call the courtroom scene.
Right.
And then yeah, that'll like wrap up, and then like I feel like I've seen that before where I look at the timestamp and it's like 30 seconds left and it's cutting to a new scene. Okay. And then it's just another little thing,
Yeah.
So there's another maybe kind of silent film,
like a holdover.
Yeah.
It felt very like pointed to the audience.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't know, with what was it, Memories of Murder, that sort of like incriminating the viewer, like near the end, I was like, oh shit, that's like kind of a very dark ending. Like they got him, like he got arrested, like he's being tried,
Right.
which is like ostensibly like a pretty good ending, I guess. Like the bad guy gets caught, but even then, you're kind of left on this downer note, where the mothers, and you don't really even see them in this movie, like the families of the people affected by this. The only perspectives you get are like the gangsters who really only want to stop him so the police stop raiding their operations. It's not really, I guess, maybe they kind of,
I figured they
him,
also want the reward money or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it too. Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, the police keep raiding us every night. Like, we can't do business this way because every night the police keep coming in. And there's sort of that, they're casting judgment on this guy. And, Peter Lorre in response is just like, oh, you guys are judging me? The safe crackers
I love
and
that.
the pickpockets. Yeah. He kind of hits them with their own medicine. And they're like, yeah, but you kill kids.
Yeah.
Like,
Alle miteinander. Verbrecher. Bildet euch womöglich noch was ein drauf, weil ihr Geldschränke knacken könnt oder Fassaden klettern oder Karten zinken. Lauter Sachen, denke ich mir, die ihr gerade so gut lassen könntet.
Or like, yeah, I love that all the like hypocrisy at play where like, okay, yeah, it's different levels, but like I really like the part where the guy who is charged with being his lawyer, his attorney or whatever, the safecracker guy is like, people like him don't deserve any mercy, and then his lawyer is like, he's like, you're wanted for like 3 charges of manslaughter right now, and he's like, this isn't about me.
Mein sehr geschätzter Vorredner, wenn ich mich nicht irre, wegen Totschlags in 3 Fällen von der Kriminalpolizei.
Das gehört nicht hierher.
Yeah, it's a lot of like interesting, like pointed commentary, but it works despite how on the nose it can be.
Right.
Like especially that stuff with the mothers at the end. I almost think it was probably like an intentional choice to, I mean, everything in a movie should be an intentional choice, I guess, but
right.
To not have them in it until the end, because you're just getting everyone else's response to these and how angry, and but it's like you don't think about the people like directly affected by it and then they're there at the very end.
They're just the victims of this, whereas the other people that are trying to catch him are basically like trying to catch him for sort of like their own gain, really. I mean, I guess the police, that's their like civic duty to do that, so it's not, they're not necessarily doing it to
they're doing it because he's Jewish.
Yep, that's what it is. But you get the victims at the end, and they just say, it's like, everybody should watch over the children, all of you, and like that's it. Cut to black. And then I did learn that in the French cut of this movie, they insert a happy ending.
They do that in the English version too.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's lame.
It is lame.
Like you're making this dark, moody movie that's kind of bleak and has this really dark, like, soul to it. Don't cop out and be like, oh, and everything lived happily ever after, and the kids went back to playing, and the moms like looked out the window and watched them, and everything was good. Don't Google what happened 2 years later in Germany.
Yeah. It's like, it's not even like, comparatively, yes, the German version is the best, but like, it's not like I would put that ending as like, that's like one of the best endings to a movie ever. But just hearing like just stripping the ending of any sort of like meaning or weight, and just being like, oh no, it's got to have a happy ending because we don't want people to be sad. It's just like, I don't care what the ending was. If the guy wanted it to be heavy, I hear, oh, the English version has a happy ending. It's fuck you, idiots. I'm still interested in seeing it because just to see, how Peter Lorre plays differently, mainly. But yeah, that's lame. What's the other thing? Oh, and then during the another thing during the trial scene, there's, I think it happens like 3 times where Peter Lorre's like just kind of going on, and then somebody off screen like puts their hand on his shoulder, and he stops and like looks up at them. And I think I feel like the idea is that it's like it's like role reversal kind of thing. I'd have to go back to see if like that's how he approached the little girls, but like I figured it was because like he's down on his knees, and then like his lawyer does it. I think one of the gangsters does it, and then one of the policemen does it at like the very end. And every time he kind of stops talking and like looks up at them, and I took that as like, oh, now he's the little kid, and because you didn't see him for the longest time in the movie, so you're getting like these hands on his shoulders, like that's him to them, to the little kid. So it's like these people with power over him, just kind of I don't know,
and he's totally otherwise he's totally like beholden to them, like he can't like they have I like that a lot.
I wondered, I don't know if you like noted that when you were watching. I figured it had to be for some reason, because they did it like 3 times, and it was the same kind of pause, look up, sort of thing.
All right. Well.
Yeah. No. I
got anything else? All right.
No. I think I'm good to go.
Okay. Yeah. I can go first. I settled on a 9. I thought this movie was great. Mm-hmm. I thought the story was very compelling for a movie from 1931. It was very technically impressive. The way that Fritz Lang grasped the use of sound, having never done it before in a picture, and implementing it in such unique and interesting ways. And just usually, like, we watch movies that are like, oh, okay, this is like it's like this is the thing that inspires a lot of movies afterwards. And upon like watching it again, maybe you're like, oh yeah, like this is good, but I like these other movies that sort of took this idea and like expanded on it and made it better. This one, it's like this feels like a movie that is foundational in a lot of other movies, but it still is like, why this inspired countless others, because it's like it's great and it's still great. And there's a lot to pick through. There's a lot of stuff I feel like you could catch on rewatches, like the way that certain characters are done, and just like the sort of like political and like socio-economic, whatever, all that kind of shit, like of the times. It's like a little time capsule into like this world. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. So I'm at a 9.
Nice. I'm really close. I'm like I went with an 8, like bordering on a 9. It's a high 8. It's a really good 8. I could see, going on a rewatch, it going up. I will say too, I was trying to finish this before I had to go into work yesterday, and I had to leave literally like right when it gets to, which maybe made that scene with the interrogation at the end like worse, is that I had to leave right when it cuts to them like dragging him out to the court. And then I wanted to finish it, so I kind of like watched it like a minute at a time at work, like between having to like do stuff, and I could like hardly hear it because I was like in the lobby. So, I mean, that could be on me. Could be my fault. I still enjoyed the ending, and I think I did watch like, like the ending couple minutes like later again.
Yeah.
So maybe that's on me. Maybe if I didn't have to do that, maybe it'd be a 9. But but yeah, really, really strong. Love Peter Lorre. He's so great in this. Love all that we talked about. The integration into the sound world is really, really cool, really well done. I'll have to check out Metropolis sometime.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? The Big Sleep, I think, is another one that Fritz Lang did that I've heard a lot about. Yeah, I'm glad to kind of like Texas Chainsaw. I love getting classics, and really vibing with them. It feels nice, especially old ones. That's probably why I love watching those silent pictures that I love so much, because it feels cool to really connect with something so old. And
yeah, there's something when you find those like universal things that transcend.
Yeah, because I think my normal preconceived notions is just. I mean, I've watched enough old movies by now to not have this as much, but there is still a little part of me that's like, am I gonna like this that much, or am I gonna?
Yeah.
Is it going to be as good as people say because it is incredibly old? And that thought is lesser in my mind than it would be when I was younger, but it is still present, and I'm glad that was not the case here, because it was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you mentioned like those silent pictures. One final thing. There is a reference to Buster Keaton in the Criterion the booklet here. It says in The Cameraman, Buster Keaton in his greatest scene politely picks up the knife that the cruel Chinese man dropped as he was trying to do Keaton in.
Oh.
It is touching because it is grotesque and no more than a symbol. Everyone feels all the tender and good, and unknowing creatures likewise hand the knife to their executioner.
Oh.
So it in reference to like the little girl, like, oh, here's your knife, mister. I can wipe that off your back.
Okay. Yeah, that's after I finished what was the last one I watched? Steamboat Bill Jr. I think The Cameraman is like next on my list of his movies.
Okay.
Seems interesting. All of his do. Yeah, that's the movie. You said you never saw any Peter Lorre. You never seen Casablanca before?
No, never seen Casablanca.
God damn, that's a good movie. That's one of those classics. Like, it's not the best movie of all time, but that was one of the first really old movies where I was like, fuck, that was good.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's too popular to put in the cup, but that's one that's that's like an iconic one that I've never seen before.
Sure. Yeah. And then he was in the film version of Arsenic and Old Lace too.
Oh. Yeah, I think the only Peter Lorre that I've actually ever seen are all of the Looney Tunes depictions of him.
Yeah. They're like those character versions where it's like
and doesn't
it's over the
have
top,
like
but also
his voice is like yes, like
that's very much like his voice in Arsenic and Old Lace, especially where he's like, oh yeah, Johnny, we better go.
Yeah.
And
the Looney Tunes is just like, that rules. We're using that forever.
Yeah, it's like it's simultaneously over the top, but also spot on.
Yeah,
their depiction of him. Yeah. But yeah, I could throw Casablanca in the cup. That'd be fun to revisit.
It's one I'd like to knock off my list.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
This other thing has been on your post-chat fighting for the last like 3 or 4 episodes.
Just because...
Get it out of your system.
Just because, I don't know. I guess if I ever watch a new movie, I guess I like to bring it up for the...
Sure.
I think it's better for the show if we're talking about new stuff. We just talked about a movie that's almost 100 years old. I should talk about something that's not even 100 days old. And that's the creator, the new movie by Gareth Edwards, who did Rogue One, the Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah, I liked Rogue One.
And then I thought it was okay. That's not why I was like
No, I know. That's like the of all of like the Star Wars properties that I've seen recently. I thought
Yeah.
Rogue One had some interesting things in it from what I
Yeah.
can remember, which it's been like a few years since I've seen it, but I remember
Yeah, it's not
it
bad.
being
It's not
at least
bad.
interesting.
But yeah, it is, and it's different. It's definitely like at the time it was the first kind of not bright and funny kind of. It took itself a bit more seriously, so it was kind of
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like looked at it as like a breath of fresh air. There's just some elements that just don't sit with me. But movie that he did do that I absolutely love is the Godzilla from 2014. The one with like Bryan Cranston and
Yeah, I remember that.
and stuff. I love that one. And then he did a movie in like 2010 called Monsters that was good too. I really like that one. That was like an indie movie where there are giant Godzilla like monsters, but you like never see them. It's like about people. It's just kind of like they're like the backdrop to this kind of drama. I guess.
I gotcha.
Anyways, the creator is another reason I kind of wanted to highlight it is because just I guess I'm like just advocating for original ideas in Hollywood are a good thing and we should promote them and we should advocate for them because this is a completely original concept idea. Yes, it's like sure, you could say it's like derivative, it's a lot like it looks like Star Wars, and they've got the, from the director of Rogue One. So you'd be like, oh, is this a Star Wars movie? It's very sci-fi. There's spaceships, there's robots, there's all this stuff.
Yeah, looking at the cover of this, there's like a guy that like you could just put a Jango Fett helmet on him and it would be like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. And it's a movie that I am somewhat conflicted on.
Sure.
Because I do agree somewhat with the sentiment that like I guess people were like upset because it's like, oh, it's using a lot of ideas that we've seen before. And like, yeah, it's not groundbreaking, like it's not doing anything as interesting as as like Fritz Lang was doing with that. It is, maybe not every single thing, but if you've seen like a story like this before, you can maybe kind of piece where it's going. Yeah, fine. But despite kind of being able to figure out where we were going ahead of time, for the most part, despite some plot contrivances, I think there was a lot of that more so than the story being kind of familiar was maybe my biggest bug, that there was a lot of like just convenience, like oh, this person that we're looking for just happens to be this person, that kind of thing, or like this person just happens to be right here in the whole of planet Earth. There's a lot of little things like that. But under this, you have this really, really strong emotional core between the main character, played by John David Washington, and the AI child that he's supposed to kill. That's the idea, is that he's sent and he's supposed to kill this child because it's supposed to be basically this little kid is the next step in AI evolution, and it's basically going to be the one that really, like AI is already very advanced in this stage and they're very human-like and stuff, but she's like a step above, and there's like a war going on between humans and AI, and basically if this child isn't killed, the robots are going to win.
Gotcha. Okay.
But then again, if you have seen, if you kind of feel like where oh, he sees the kid and then he doesn't kill her, and then oh, he starts getting attached. That's kind of what I mean. Like, and then he doesn't want to kill it, and then oh, maybe he's kind of, maybe is he gonna switch sides? Is he faltering in his that kind of stuff?
Right.
And that's what I mean, where it's like, yeah, sure, it's a little predictable, but the emotional core is really strong of them, and it's really strongly supported by this little girl who is one of the best child performances I have ever seen. She is amazing in this movie. She is. We have Ken Watanabe, Allison Janney, who are both great actors. John David Washington ain't no slouch. But this little girl, I don't know how old she is, maybe like 8, 9, is the best actor in the movie. She delivers the best performance. I don't really say this often about child performances, but I don't think she will, but I legitimately think she should be in the run for like best supporting actress, like when it comes to like Oscar season.
Wow.
I thought she was great. And it really makes you feel for these heavier scenes that come on as the movie progresses. And yeah, so she's 9 years old. Madeline Una Voiles is her name. She's great. She's fantastic in this movie.
Interesting.
And yeah, so it's great for that. It's great for being an original concept. It's great for being a movie that had a budget of $80 million and looks like better than basically any Marvel or DC movie from the past handful of years. Like it's like that is almost like you could almost call that at like this day like a low budget movie, and it looks so good. It looks so impressive for like that budget. There like people were saying you could triple the budget and it still wouldn't be as much as The Flash was this year, and which has gotten like dogpiled for have you seen like the CGI from The Flash?
I've seen a clip like near the end where like his tooth falls out or something like that.
There's that, but there's a lot of like CGI generating like people, and I feel like people use this phrase a lot for movies, but never have I agreed more. Like PS3 level graphics. It's really fucking bad. And yeah, that is over 3 times the budget of this movie.
That's crazy. Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of these studios now just sort of like outsource the nitty gritty like CGI animation to like studios in like India or Thailand or like the Philippines. Like there's like I think they outsource a lot of that shit. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of it's just like, yeah, well, you're paying people like $2 an hour to do this. So
right, yeah.
This is what you get.
Yeah.
Dude, oh man, the other day we were like making dinner, and it was like kind of chilly out. Chloe's just like, yeah, just put something on the TV. Put on like the first Harry Potter movie. It's like, yeah, all right, we'll put that on. And I hadn't noticed this before until I saw like a video about it. But there's like a scene, you know, like the scene when Hagrid comes to like the island, like after all the letters keep piling up.
Yeah.
The first movie.
Yep.
There's a shot after he like turns Dudley's tail into the pigtail. It pulls out, and there's a dude that is clearly not what's his name?
Robbie
Coltrane. And then if you look closely, his face looks like a PS3 character.
Cool.
It's crazy. This is like, oh shit, yeah, that's just some guy.
Oh damn.
I think there's like another instance where like Neville gets on the broom and flies, and then he like kind of falls and then like lands. It's like a PS3 rendered body.
Yeah, but that was like 20 years ago.
I know.
So at least there's that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, this is like the whole like writer's strike thing that's going on. A big portion of that is studios want to basically like download you as a skin that they could just apply to stuff. Like they want to use AI and like that like face scanning shit to just like, okay, well, we own your likeness now. And it's like they're already doing that. And like I wonder how much money they have to pay to get like Christopher Reeve and Adam West and all these guys in there. And like part of me is just like, okay, well, here's what we do. Let them do it. Because if it keeps being dog shit like this, maybe eventually it won't be profitable. But then it's like, there are some people that are like so into these movies that no matter what, they will still go to like a screening of it, even though they know it's going to be terrible.
I mean, well, yes, there are still people that saw it, but like there has been a string of bombs this year.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of the one, like the Guardians of the Galaxy did well, and who to thunk it? It's like the one that's good. But like the Flash bombed, Black Adam bombed, Ant-Man bombed.
What about that Blue Beetle movie? Did the Blue Beetle movie do okay?
I think maybe that one did okay. I'm not sure, but I mean, it is good to see that like there are a lot that aren't doing well. I'm gonna look up box office bombs 2023. I don't know. I just remember seeing that like Disney in particular has had a string of bombs. Okay, this is Fast X, The Little Mermaid,
Ugh.
The Flash, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible. That's a little bit. If
you're just looking at it strictly like financially, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's what. This is just money.
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion. This says Blue Beetle was a bomb. I don't remember it being like a hit. At best,
right.
It did okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if that one did also flop. But
Here's a quick way to determine if something's a steaming pile of dog shit. If you're on the Wikipedia page for it, and for in this case it's The Flash, if there's a sub-section in the Wikipedia that says non-fungible token, I think that's a pretty good indicator. On July 5th, 2023, it was announced that The Flash would also be released with the non-fungible token Illuvio blockchain the same day as its digital release, making it the first new release film to be released in a blockchain.
I think I'm dying. I think I'm having heart failure. Holy fuck.
I mean, and then also all of that shit with Ezra Miller. It's like this movie was designed. This movie was designed. Maybe they want to kill it. Maybe that's what they're trying to tell us.
It feels like they have to. It's so fucking crazy. Like, how can you be this goddamn bad at like at it's fucking making movies? I don't know. Because what do they do? There's Brendan Fraser has this big comeback with The Whale. Everybody's so happy to have Brendan Fraser back in the movies. He's playing the villain in the new Batwoman movie. What do? They can it. That movie does not get a release. It's done. Nobody gets to see it. Ezra Miller has this multitude of allegations and issues against
children at gunpoint.
All this shit. Yeah. Release The Flash, this piece of shit movie. That nobody wants to see. You fucking stupid. It's crazy how stupid they are.
Yes. And it's also just insane that it's like 2023 and like this is like the height of computer graphics, the height of like technology and that kind of and it's just like, how do you not do better than like Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Like some of those movies from like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, I would have taken, Uncanny Valley Hagrid over this, because I didn't even notice that for like 20 years. But it's like you put this in front of me and it's like my eye is drawn to it with how terrible it looks. And like that's because like it showed like Ben Affleck as the Batman, and it's like, was he even there? Did they just take like because I mean they shoot everything on like.
You're talking like Ben Affleck Batman specifically? Yeah. He is like early in the movie. There's like a scene with them or whatever, like him and Wonder Woman and the Flash.
Because it's like maybe that's why they're shooting all these on green screens, so they can just they have like a folder of like Ben Affleck T-posing, and then they can just like insert him into movies wherever they want. Because it's like if you have the real person on set, why does he look like that in the final result?
Yeah. So ultimately, this comes back to don't support I mean, not like the creator is, who I'm sure that's another big company that's producing it, but yeah, 20th Century, which I think is a subsidiary of Disney. So what the fuck ever, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But I mean, it made its money back at least. It's not a bomb, which is good. That's a good thing. It would have been nice if it was like a hit. I think that would have made, if it made like, half a billion or something, that would have been awesome. That would have made more of a statement. But yeah, the only flack I can give it is, it is a little. There's a bit of plot contrivances, a bit not the most original story, despite it being an original idea. But you're gonna get that with these these couple $100 million like superhero movies. Those aren't gonna be super original stories, but they're also gonna have like bad CGI and dumb writing and bad acting and stuff. So at least this way you'll get the whatever story, but it's original concept. Like with like it feels like this guy cares. The director put a lot into this movie. It's an idea that he came up with. And, it feels like there's just a lot more heart in something like this than The Flash or Shazam 2.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell when a director actually gives a shit about it versus God, I think it was the mid 2000s when South Park was taking swipes at Family Guy. I don't know how much South Park you watched.
I remember that whole.
It's it's like the dolphins in a giant aquarium.
Yeah,
and they just push balls into the thing, and then it's just that one time we went to Ellen's house and Tom Cruise was there. But it's that's what these movies feel like. They just have beach balls that have characters and scenarios written on them, and there's just dolphins swimming around pushing them in. NFT.
Yeah. Yeah, and as soon as whatever, I don't know if it was the first Spider-Verse or whatever, but as soon as multiverse theory was introduced in movies, that was the bane of originality.
Everything is a multiverse now.
Yeah, it's
although I feel like I saw something recently that was kind of multiverse themed, but I liked it. Was it for duds or was it something else? I don't remember.
Was it Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I mean, yeah,
they're not.
That's definitely one of them that does it well.
Right, yeah.
Not
every. Yeah, I wasn't saying.
No,
I
know.
Every multiverse movie sucks. I love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I even like Spider-Man Far From Home did it really well. There's a way to do this well, and then there's a way to do it like The Flash, where it's just here's a shot of Christopher Reeve that has nothing to do with anything except here's a shot of him. Here's a shot of George Reeve.
Do you remember it?
It's it's the opposite ends of the spectrum. It's you have The Flash or you have Everything Everywhere.
Right. Damn, I'm gonna think of it as soon as we're done. I'm gonna be oh yeah, that's what it was. I feel like it might have been a TV show or something.
Okay. The only TV show I can think of that does it recently is another Marvel one. Oh, the Outwaters. You're thinking of the Outwaters.
Yes, the Outwaters.
That's kind of a multiverse movie, you could say.
Yeah, that's definitely it. We watched Clue last night, which I guess that has 3 possible outcomes.
Sure,
so
yeah.
maybe that's a
multiverse
movie.
I like this idea, just how many movies fit the multiverse theme or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Creativity is dying.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well,
all right. Ready for next movie?
Yeah.
Next week's movie? Yeah,
we don't really do anything for November, other than I guess we did Over the Garden Wall last year, which was it's cozy, I guess.
Yeah, I've been meaning to mention it. I'll pitch you what I was thinking for a Thanksgiving movie.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Yes.
But next week is not the Thanksgiving movie, so that's just a one of these. Just a regular old one of these.
I remembered what it was.
The one you were thinking of?
Yes.
What is it?
It was Fiona and Cake, which is the Adventure Time spinoff.
Uh-huh.
It's like Fiona and Cake are like Finn and Jake, but it's like
the girls
created by the Ice King, like in his imagination, and they come to life and like literally climb out of his head and like come into his world, and basically they need to, like, the Ice King is like this tragic character, like the crown makes him crazy, and so he's like a normal dude now, and they're basically traveling to all these different like
it's
like
a different
Prismo.
is this a different show than Adventure
It's
Time,
made by
or is it?
It's made by the same guys who do Adventure Time, and then a lot of the cast does reprise their voices.
Okay.
Except for Justin Roiland. Justin Roiland is not the Lemon Grab.
Oh, that's weird. Why?
I don't know. It's really weird that he didn't do it. They're supposed to get Kumail Nanjiani back to be Prismo, but I guess his agent totally dropped the ball and didn't tell him, so he just wasn't in it.
A bummer.
Which is unfortunate because his Prismo is great.
Yeah, I like Kumail.
Unfortunately, Jake the dog was not in it, so
so no John.
what's his name?
John.
Yeah.
DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio wasn't in it, which was kind of a bummer. But yeah, it was like kind of a multiverse thing where they had to like basically try to go to a universe where the Ice King hadn't taken the crown, or the crown was like taken by someone else, and he had to try to reset things to make things right. Mm-hmm. So it kind of did. It was like kind of a backdrop for like a character study. So it wasn't like, here are the rules for the multiverse, kind of thing.
That's when it's good. That's why both. I mean, I guess even the Spider-Verse from this year was good too. It's just I didn't like it as much as the first one.
Yeah.
But I say like Into the Spider-Verse and the live action No Way Home. Those were great because it used it used the multiverse to tell a really good character story.
Yes.
I think like overall I like Into the Spider-Verse more than No Way Home, but I think No Way Home utilizes the multiverse stuff even better than Into the Spider-Verse because of how it like use the way that the different Spider-Men like relate to one another and how they differentiate, and things that like happen along the way. I actually think you should watch it even if you're not big into the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it's one of those things where you get in the trailer, it's like, okay, we're getting Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin back, and we're getting Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus back. But it's not just here's a shot of them for 1 second because you recognize what they are. It's like they play a role that fits.
Right.
And also, like, hell yeah, I want to see Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin again. Are you fucking kidding me? And he's so good. He is just as as good as he was in, yeah. Dude, Willem Dafoe's he's great. So yeah, there's a way to use it effectively, whether you're an A24 indie darling or a Marvel superhero movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a shitty cash grab, but it often is.
But a lot of them are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Movie now.
I'm glad I thought of that, or it was going to bug me.
I still got to figure out what movie I was trying to think of with the Balloon Man or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
All right. We have a director returning from just a handful of episodes back. From 1975, directed by Sidney Lumet, we're watching Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, nice.
Have you seen this one?
I have. No, that's one that I've always heard of. That's been on my list.
Nice.
I know about it. Hell yeah, I'm excited now. That rules.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Dog Day Afternoon, you can watch it on a few things for rent: YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Redbox, Vudu. Now looks like that's it. So watch it. One of those if you don't want to be spoiled for it. I said that already. Before next week's episode. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And
stick around after the video. We're probably going to do something on YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah, one or the other. Yeah. And again, I guess keep an eye out for other video stuff from us on YouTube. If it's not out already, there should be some stuff coming soon.
There will be content.
And with all that said, I kind of just want to like stare into the camera and be like, you need to watch There Will Be Duds. Even you.
All of you.
All of you. So sure, I'll do that. I'm TJ, a.k.a. TJ. And with me as always.
Oh, man. As always. Man, I can't think of any sort of like memorable quotes from this one. I'll recreate the money shot. Yeah.
You look more cheeky than scared.
He's like, oh no, did someone write something on my back? Oh. I hope I don't get caught. Nick, and that's it. Watch out for your children.
Yeah.
All of you.
And then they fade down to black.